And Dale Ross. We're here at the Jim and Dale talk show. Everybody, I apologize for my voice. I've been fighting some type of virus since last Saturday. But Dale, we were off the air. We are talking a little bit about leadership. Let's just call it what it is: leadership, whether it's
hmm
political or sports team or work related and stuff like that. When you're looking for when it comes to leadership, do you think, as you've obviously been in a career since what the 1980s, I guess early 80s or so.
Yep.
You've throughout your career, what has been constant for you when it comes to leadership? What you think is good leadership that regardless of age, and then maybe some specialized leadership that's required at a younger age versus somebody that's kind of like a gray hair like me and you are, kind of
What
throwing a lot
is,
at you.
yeah, the leadership. I can't, right quickly, I cannot get our screens to split.
Huh.
You're the only one on screen right now.
Oh, so let me put you on here. I can see you now.
Yeah, but we can't see you.
You're not missing
So
anything.
select the double bar. Well, I don't know why you would be able to do this and me not, but
Yeah, I can't. It's when I select that shit. It says shift two.
shift
It
two. Uh-huh.
says press shift two.
I don't
Nothing
understand. Well,
happens.
we'll just have to flip back and forth between us. But leadership. Do you mean what just makes a leader, or
What? Yeah. What do people, regardless of age, what do they gravitate towards when it comes to leaders?
what
What
do
are some like
leaders?
things that what are things that you think make a person a great leader, regardless of who their
Confidence.
audience is?
So confidence is one thing. Um, ability. So in other words, anything that they or their the body that they're leading, whatever it is, they have they show confidence in in that which they are leading. So they show an understanding. Typically, they show a concern for what they are leading. Thus, maybe some kind of, I don't know if passion's the right word, but they have an attachment to what they are leading that you can see just through them and their actions alone that this is something that they want to accomplish. And then they have the ability of some amount of charisma to be able to um, get people to listen to them. They have an ability to get people to work with each other. Um, I think that's a huge thing about leadership is when you have, even if it's just two people that are under you, getting those two people to work with you and work with each other. That's an important thing, and that's something that leaders tend to have the ability to do. Uh, because you can't reach a goal if you're fighting against others within your group, your team. Uh, you'll never reach your goal. And in fact, you'll probably, if you have too much of that, you'll be pulled in the opposite direction of your goal. So, really, just an ability to manage people, convince them to work with each other, to compromise is a tough thing. It depends on what you're leading in as
Would you
to
say maybe
whether,
maybe collaboration instead of
well,
compromise?
collaboration for sure, but even collaboration may require some compromise of
Right.
what one party wants to do in another party. Say you're going to make a widget and two people or two groups have ideas on how to make that widget and you can agree on most of it, but there's a couple of things that you want to do one way and they want to do another. You got to find a compromise, an ability
Right.
to compromise there. and that would apply with anything. Hey, compromise. I'm just thinking in some situations where compromise is a tough thing, and that would be in athletics where you don't. Um, you're working towards a common goal, and what you may have to compromise are your own issues, not something that another individual puts forward, but your thoughts on something versus what the leader thinks. You'll have to compromise your ideas on that. So you have to have trust in your leader too, because your leader may take you down paths of things that you are not comfortable with and you may not even agree with. And for you to be able to compromise your own thoughts on things, you certainly would have to have some kind of trust. Trust, confidence, ability to communicate, ability to have people work with each other. I think those are the core values to a leader.
Well, let me ask you this: between arrogance and humility, what does a leader have more of?
Arrogance and humility. Well, a good leader or a bad leader? I think a good leader has humility. A bad
Right.
leader has arrogance.
Yeah. And I
Because
think a
that,
lot of times people they lack confidence, so they show more arrogance, so people don't ask questions. I've seen that in my own work before. I'm sure you
yeah,
probably have too.
yeah. I think what, unfortunately, what we see sometimes is that people know a little bit of something, and thus the project or the group that they're leading, they know a little bit about it, but then they act like they know a whole lot about it, a whole lot
Right.
more. It empowers them that they think they know a whole lot more, or they make out that they know a whole lot more. And either situation is just going to, in the end, degrade the team and destroy the unit that you need to be building up to accomplish whatever goal it is that you have. You're going to cause a lot of strife. Arrogance is a bad thing because it people see it and know it. And, a leader doesn't have to be the smartest person or know the most about that which it is they're working on, as long as they are willing to listen to those that do. But if they have that arrogance that you mentioned, Jim, then the people that know will spot it and will be able to say, nope, we can't have that. So um, I don't know what's happened with us on screens here.
I just put Garrett in.
I see, but
Huh. I
you're
cannot get the
blank.
thing to.
You're black. I'm black.
Yeah,
I don't
it's
know.
interesting.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on there, people. We have a few people watching. Now we're back to me. Um,
When it comes to leadership, though, I'll give you a person who I think was very intelligent, but who'd been a lousy leader, and he's dead now. Howard Cosell. I think he'd been a lousy leader
I agree. I agree.
because he was so self-centered and arrogant. There was a lot of arrogance, but at the same time, I'd love to hang out with him. Just
I
to,
would too. I mean, he was an extremely intelligent individual, but his problem was he wanted to let you know he was intelligent, not
right.
not share his intelligence, but command. He he may have thought he was sharing it, but he was more so saying, "I know this," and kind of that attitude of, "I know this, and thus I know I'm right," kind of, and arrogant. It's just arrogance.
Yeah, just it was total arrogance. Uh,
But I would sit
yeah,
down with him and talk. That would have been so awesome to do. I think.
well, he's from North Carolina originally. He was born in Winston Salem,
Yeah.
and I mean, of course, he obviously didn't grow up in Winston Salem. I think he grew up in. Did he grow up in Brooklyn or I think it was New York City. If he grew up, or it's either New York City or a suburb of the city. But
You
he
know, I'm
just
sorry,
an
go ahead.
interesting fellow, though.
I was just thinking about a lot of people's popular favorite president was Ronald Reagan. And Ronald Reagan had some of the qualities I mentioned. Um, he had an ability to grab people's ears. Now, don't, I'm not saying this as he's a great president, because the more that I think about his presidency, the more that I see things he promised he never did. Of course, that's politics, but he was able to present the values of leadership, a lot of the points of leadership. That's just one good example of where um, many of those values can bring you a good leader. We could have done more if he'd have actually done the things he said he wanted to do, because he had the ability to lead. And then I think about other people that have charisma. Uh, Forgive me, but somebody who I just have huge problems with is Jim Baker, and he he had a huge following because he had charisma. Um, Another situation of where he could have done more had he been ethical and really done the things he wanted to do, because he was able to grab the attention. So, that's the scary thing. Jim Jones had charisma.
Oh gosh, did he ever?
Exactly. And so, what did that lead to? A lot of deaths. He had the ability to bring people together and to get them to think a certain way, but he didn't use it for, good cause. So that was not good for the group in the end. The group suffered as a result of that. And I think that's proof that you got to have all the elements. You got to have everybody's interests in mind.
You
Um,
got to have a chemistry. You got to know how to get people what they respond to and what they don't respond to. You can learn a lot about what you can say something to somebody that they don't like and they will not respond to you whatsoever.
right.
I'll tell you a good guy or a person that's a great test study when it comes to leadership. Billy Martin, Yankees. He
I
was
remember
famous for
Billy. Yeah.
he'd come into a really bad situation like the Oakland Athletics. Came in there 1980. The year before they won 54 games. Next thing you
Hmm.
know, they won 83 games, and year after that they were in the playoffs. But then in year three they win 69 games, lose 93, and he's fired. I mean, he was like sugar. It give everybody a rush for just a brief time, a year or two, and then he was gone. I mean, did it many times. The Yankees,
Did
with
it
the
Yankees?
Tigers, the
Yeah.
Rangers, the Twins.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, kind of. It's leadership is it's not for everybody.
no,
Um, a lot of people want to be leaders, and when they become leaders, they don't have all the qualities to make them a leader. Think about another one that had to be a really good leader, and I only know from what I read, and that would be Newt Rockney.
oh,
Um,
I agree with that. I
he
agree.
um, he had to be a good leader, um, and for people that are, we have some viewers right now. If they don't know, that's a great legend at
Bear
Notre
Bryant's another
Dame.
guy.
Bear Bryant had to be a good leader. I agree. In the athletic world, we've seen a lot of good leaders. A lot of good coaches turn out to be good leaders. I'm not a fan of him, but of him or his team, but Tom Landry, um, I would think would fit into that role a bit. Don
Yeah,
Shula.
Don
Uh,
Shilla, I take over Landry. the only reason why Landry tend to be a little bit, a little bit more icy towards his
Uh-huh.
players. He was more of the CEO,
Right.
and you got someone like Shula is like, hey, run with me because I'm gonna beat you on this 40-yard gasser here.
Right.
Because
Yeah.
Shula
Shula
was
Shula
he was
probably
right in the
took,
trenches.
I would say he probably took more at heart the interest of the group. I'm a big Shula fan, by the way.
I am too.
I was a Dolphins fan until we got the Panthers, and then I made the Dolphins my number two team. I'm glad they're my number two team because my number one team sucks. Um, but yeah, and I've had the opportunity to meet and talk with Don Shula. We had him at one of our national sales meetings. He was a speaker, and just what a great individual of concepts. His concepts of leadership. He spoke about them at that meeting, and you could tell right then this why his teams did so well. You hear that thing in football about wanting to have the players to be able to run through a brick wall for your coach, and a good leader can do that. Can command that kind of attention out of in football their players, and honestly in anything that you operate in that has groups, you want to have that kind of mentality with the team so that they will. And when I say team, we could be talking about your accounting stuff, Jim. We could be talking about
Oh
my
yeah.
automation stuff. It doesn't matter. It all applies the same, that you want the team to work towards that common goal and to give everything that they can so that you are successful. Um,
When it comes to like when I have to be when I'm a leader, I'm right there in the trenches with my guys. So it's like, okay, this is what I'm looking at. This is what I'm anticipating.
mhm.
This I want to make sure you're trained so you can anticipate just as fast as I am about this stuff. Just repetition. I'm a big believer of overtraining. And if you look at Don Shula, he is too. He wouldn't just do 3 days; he'd do 4 days back in the early '70s, and just a repetition, do it over and over and over again,
Yeah,
where you don't have a chance to react. It just is normal for you,
that's right.
and that's I've always been more that way. But
He was
good
that
leaders,
way. He was that way in the '60s at Baltimore too. He just had more success in uh, Miami. Uh,
yeah. See, the thing is, Carol Rosenblum, he was the owner of the Colts. He owned it until 1972 when he bought the he basically transferred franchise with the Rams. The
hmm
Reeves passed away, and the guy Jim Irsay or Robert Irsay bought the Rams, and then ended up switching franchises with Carol. Now, Carol Rosenblum was a demanding owner. He would have been like the Jerry Jones of his time, and that's probably being generous to
Right.
Carol when I say that. He fired a guy, Wade Eubank, who this is before the Super Bowl era, won 2 NFL championships and fired him. And he had Shula, and I think the guy replaced Shula McCaffrey. He won in 1970. Within a year or two, he was fired. I mean, very demanding owner. And then he went to from Carroll over to Joe Robbie, and Robbie had a pretty bad temper, to be honest with you. He could drink anybody under the table. I mean, they were always saying this like, "What was that empty bottle?" And it's like, well, that's what Joe Robbie consumed for in the
Mhm.
first half of the game. But that's one thing you'll hear about from guys like Shula. Shula would not duck the Carol Rosenblums or the Joe Robbies. He
Right.
would he would go right after them, and he he didn't hide behind anybody. He must have done pretty good because neither guy fired him.
All right.
Hey, I think we got Garrett. Gary, you on here, man? Can you hear us?
Yeah, I made it this time. I hope I did.
Okay, that's good. We're talking about leadership. What do you think? Give me three adjectives, Garrett. What do you think is a good leader? 3 words.
Well, that's a good question. Well, leadership. You got somebody that's pretty much knowledgeable. You got to know what you're doing. You got
Okay, so
somebody that is also transparent. Somebody that works with people.
okay, experience, transparency. I like that.
Yeah, yeah. And you also got to be somebody that is very motivated and very like determined. Yeah, determined, motivated. Not.
So,
And
someone
also
that's
another one is, you know, that's three, but here's another one. What about selfish? Selfish. Not
selfless.
selfish,
Yes,
but
I got
selfless.
you.
Selflessness.
Yeah,
Yes.
yes, and
Selflessness.
somebody
You,
that's about others, not just themselves.
right. I agree. It's got to be we before me. I totally agree with you
Yeah,
on that.
exactly.
Uh,
Well,
when
as
you're
I would
talking
say,
about
lead
motivation,
before
you're talking
me,
about the
except
leader
after
has.
sea.
There you go. And when you're talking about motivation, though, are you talking about the leader should be motivated to do a good job, or you think the leader should be the motivator, motivates everybody else?
Well, uh, do a good job and to employees um, to work hard and smart and stuff. And the time to be all about your.
We can't understand you, Garrett.
I said,
Yeah, Gary, you're kind of sounding like
but
Max Headroom there, buddy.
You
But
need
it's all good.
a
Uh,
better connection. But I
yeah.
I agree with you, Garrett. Those
Oh,
are
I do
all
too. I think you
quality.
did. There are some people that's it's really bad, but there's certain leaders though, like Chuck Noll was a great leader back in the day,
Yes, he
and
was.
he had trouble motivating people because he just didn't have it in his personality. He was a very introverted guy, but a
Shut
great
up,
leader
Jeff.
because he had that skill, knowledge, and experience to do anything on the field.
We
So,
see you, Jeff. You're the only one on screen.
Howdy, howdy.
What do you think makes a good leader, Jeff? What would be a
Well,
handful of words you would use to describe a leader?
well, I think can you hear me?
Yeah, wait, I can hear you.
But I'm hearing somebody else too. But what makes a good leader is somebody with humility and somebody who's motivated and has the ability to motivate others and I've seen some different kind of leaderships. Back when I worked retail, I
Hmm.
had some managers, that basically, coax us on, like when they wanted us to do something like, push credit. They were like, "Come on, let's go, let's do this. We got this." All right, man. Then we have others that said, "Come on, you got to do this. You got to get this done. Get it." And those who cracked the whip made me less likely to want to work for them, and those that gave that coaching speech or whatever, like, let's do this, or just say, "Hey, I trust y'all to do this task or what have you," and not to be pushy about it.
Hmm.
Those are the kind of leaders that I wanted to work for. And those are the kind of leaders that I look for, like people that just set the example and not to, crack that whip on you or just motivate you and saying we can do this and such. You know, it's just the ones that cracked the whip aggravated the hell out of me, and I didn't want to
It's-
work for them.
So one of the first things you said when we first started talking about this, I don't know if you were listening, but Jim posed a question to me, which is more important, humility or arrogance, or one, I forget exactly how he phrased it, but you threw out humility, which is, we both agreed with humility.
I agree with that.
Yeah, that's an important, you just can't lead the body of people that you have by being too self-centered, too much arrogance. You can't. Yeah. Anyway, you hit the right points, Jeff. And it can be retail. It can be a baseball team. Doesn't matter, right?
Yeah, I was just throwing that out there as a prime example because I'm sure, either one can translate. But I also think, if you lead with love and, you show your team that you care about them, that, it's not, just to go through the motions kind of thing. That I think when people know that you care for them, whether it's at work or, the ball field or, even in simple relationships, when people see that you care, they'll go that extra mile for you. That's how I look at it.
Right.
Instills confidence. That's something that I always believe in. And also putting people in positions where they're either going to succeed or at least they're going to learn something about how to do a new process.
So,
because I'll tell you right now, when you do a new process, you're not always going to succeed, but at least if you can learn something, that's great.
Jim, that's an important point. If another or an important additive to that is the ability to recognize when someone is struggling in what they are doing and looking to shift. You may have to shift roles on a team so that the individual is able to contribute and not pull the team down. Even if it means taking a better person off of something, it's the balance of things that you have to be able to manage. So recognizing this isn't the right thing for this individual, let me find something else for them, is that's important. Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah, that's all good stuff to talk about with leadership, though. Everywhere I've gone through in my life, I've seen some people that are just really, really strong leaders.
Mm-hmm.
And then I can go back home and, like, I was talking to a couple of my friends from back in elementary school about this one guy that I always thought he had tremendous leadership. And his name is Kyle Blackman. He lives in Greenville, North Carolina, and just one of the nicest guys that you'll ever meet. But this thing about it was he always made everybody around him better. And he would have a lot of fun with the rest of us. We'd always be laughing quite a bit. But every time we're around him, we always made sure we learned something. And he was one of our peers. And that's one of those things that was so innate, And I try my best to pick up stuff that from other people, like keeping people loose, making sure everybody knows that this is nothing more than a first world problem. Nobody's going to die if we don't get something done today. It's all about being able to put everything in perspective. So
it is. You got to have common goals. You got to have a leader that can recognize goals and set them, and then do all the things that we all have, I think, agreed on, things that make good leaders. So, Jeff, I made the comment, I don't know if you saw it, that Jim Jones was a good leader until he was a bad leader, right? He's a perfect example that some of the qualities that you need to make a good leader can really get people moving in a common direction. It's just that you got to have everybody's best interests at heart, or the unit will fail, as what happened there. The unit failed because the leader did not have the team's best interests at heart. So,
One of my comments is starting to pop up from the start of the broadcast when you were talking about a TV evangelist.
Yeah,
Oh.
I just added in there.
Oh, okay, yeah. So I hate to mention him, but because of direct knowledge of how he operated, and then seeing so many people like my grandmother get so much money, and then just to know that my father-in-law, who's probably as good a Bible following Christian man you'd ever meet. He ran an electrical contracting business, and he was doing the electrical contracting at Heritage USA. And Jim Baker stood on the stage and tore their invoice up on stage, saying, "This has been donated." If you remember that spiel, Jim, if you ever saw it, I don't know if you ever saw any
I
of
don't
it.
know if I saw that one or not.
Yeah, no, it was a lot. I mean, he did do that every episode. You know, when they were having so many financial troubles, and he'd stand up on the stage and tear up bills, invoices, and say, "This has been donated." Well, that was not donated, and
He was
and
donating things for people that didn't donate. I guess.
exactly. And
Yeah.
what my brother-in-law told me, he said, we would watch him come off the stage from doing his crying fits. And as soon as he'd come off the stage, he'd wipe his eyes, and he'd ask people, "So how'd I do? How'd I do? How'd we do? How'd we do?" Um, he would just immediate, like a switch, turn that emotion, off. So anyway, he could lead. Jeff, he was able to get a lot of people to follow him in a certain direction, but you got to have, in any team, be it football, any team, you got to have everybody's interests at heart.
Oh, you remember the guy that was the owner of the New York Rangers? He acted like he had all this kinds of money. Found out he had like a net worth of like less than $100,000.
Mm-hmm.
And he actually went to prison, I believe, for several years. But he basically had no net worth whatsoever. Told everybody he had everything. It was like promising all things left and right to the fans, and basically took the Rangers out. I mean, that was bad leadership. The guy I always
Right.
think about, though, from the religious realm is Oral Roberts, where he said, "Please send me some money because God's going to strike me dead if you don't."
Right. Exactly.
That's why people are getting away from organized religion nowadays. Now, I mean, I um, I personally, like I said, most of these TV evangelists, I don't even pay them any mind. I mean, you want to give to your local church that you trust, not these big shots on the big screen. I used to there used to be an organization I used to give to many years ago, but pastor one time said, "But who's going to be there for you, like when your family dies, or like when you are sick, or like when you need somebody to talk to." And he gave me this analogy of you do not eat at McDonald's and pay Burger King, and that kind of set a light off in me. That that sound advice right there. I took it and ran with it. Never
Right.
forgot.
I mean, I could do a whole discussion about this topic, and it's something I've thought about, but I'll leave that for another type of broadcast. Jim, I saw today that Maurice Mo Green is going to run for director of education.
Okay, I got you. I'm not
You
a big
remember?
fan of our current one, but
Say again.
I'm not a big fan of our current.
Well,
I mean, it's not bad, but not a fan.
so since I do not want to say wonderful. This is highly sarcastic. Since our wonderful legislatures have basically hit the first gong on the death knell of the NCHS, excuse me, on high school athletics.
Right.
You know that it went into law. SB 542 went into law this week. Governor did not veto it,
Nope.
but he did not sign it either.
Just let it go into law.
Exactly. He did say that he thought it was I forget the word he used, but doing it in the middle of the night the way they did, of slipping it into the insurance bill was just wrong. He didn't veto it. I wish he had vetoed it and sent it back and told him to remove it. But I don't know if he fully understands what's going to happen to the NCHSAA now that they can't have corporate sponsorships. We're not going to have championships like we used to have.
Q said it perfectly, and I agree with Q. He should have vetoed it and just made the Congress or the legislature override his veto.
Right.
And I totally get it. I agree with Q on that.
Exactly. I do too. I just don't think people understand that we're going to go to a situation where there's going to be tens of thousands of people that cannot go to a state championship game that would have gone, and they're going to be calling and complaining why they can't get tickets because the venue that they're at, the venue that they're at, they can't, the high school that they're playing at can't hold the people.
That's sad. I mean, that's totally sad. That's where I wish the governor, I wish the North Carolina legislature, all of them would follow the same thing. Don't act like Democrats. Don't act like Republicans. Act like North Carolinians when it comes to education. Do not politicize education. Only bad things can happen.
That guy in over in Monroe and Union County,
McGinnis.
No. He's a little. Yeah, this is Johnson.
Oh yeah, I know you're talking about now.
Yeah, we had him on Talking Preps last week.
Yeah, he was arrogant. I just.
He made a comment. He made a comment. He said this passed with bipartisan support, and I wanted to so badly to say, can you tell me which one of our legislators were pro student athletes, and which one of our legislators were anti-student athletes? Because this is not a political Democrat-Republican issue. This particular issue is not. It's not a political issue. It shouldn't be a political issue. Why are you making it a political issue?
Yeah, when I heard that guy talk, I know you're talking about now. I just found him to be very like a Vicky Sawyer with a different gender, I guess. And just not very. It just didn't impress me that much when I listened to him.
So Vicky Sawyer, when we had her on last year before, you could tell she was ignorant to the way the NCHSAA works, and I think he is somewhat also, maybe a lot, maybe
just arrogance.
He's highly arrogant. Exactly. He was extremely arrogant, but these people that I saw a post today, and what I'm going to start doing on Twitter is every time I see somebody post something, I'm going to your profile. I'm going to check and see how long you've had this profile. I'm going to go see who your first followers were and who your first initial followers were. This particular Fair Carolina Sports or something like that made the comment, Jim, we'll use the $40 million out of the endowment to pay for the championships. They've got no clue what the money is there for and how the money can be used and can't be used. And yet, and I know that person, that person's out of Rowan County, most likely. Good chance is a potential former baseball coach, just based on the people that signed up early onto the account. And there are a lot of our state senators and representatives as followers out of about, what was the number, 49 or 68 or so followers, highly political, everything, the content that they posted. Let me see here. He says try shift 5.
Yeah, I've been chatting with them, and
Yeah, I am too.
okay, I'll leave it to you then.
No, you do it too.
Okay. Yeah, I've been trying to. I've been
I'm
saying
with
nothing is working.
Yeah, that's what I'm telling them. Nothing is working. All right, folks, we want to get everybody here on at the same time. So Mo Green, who has a lot of experience in North Carolina education, was president of the NCHSAA when Q Tucker came on, is running, and that group is going to be running what the NCHSAA does now. It's all going to fall under that. And while there's certain things we'll not be able to do, hopefully there's some saving of what can be done for student athletes. But there's just so much we're going to lose, people. Training of coaches, training of officials, management of games, or management of, but not games, but of seasons and, overall athletics. We're going to be disjointed. Our championships are going to suffer tremendously. We won't even be playing in venues like UNCC or UNC Charlotte or Charlotte, whatever they want to be called these days. Forget about Chapel Hill, Raleigh, Wake Forest. We're not going to be playing in these venues. And forget about the talk had been about playing in Panther Stadium. That ain't going to happen now. That's out of the question. So, we're going to lose. Student athletes are going to lose so many opportunities to do things that they would never get to do. That was the whole purpose of playing at the big 4 stadiums, and then ultimately the big 3, and then finally the big 2, was to give athletes that opportunity to play on those fields.
I'll tell you what we got everybody on right here together. Got Garrett, Jeff, me, and you.
Mm-hmm.
Of the 4 championship venues, you got Carter Family, you got BB&T Field, you got Wallace Wade, you got Keenan. I want you to rank them from 1 to 4 when it comes to what do you think is the best venue for a high school state championship game? Who wants to go first? Tell you what, I'm going to put Jeff on.
Yeah, put Jeff on the spot.
The big 4 got NC State, Carolina, you got Duke, Wake Forest. Throw away all your allegiance to any one of these schools. When it comes to just for the fans, for the media, for the players, how would you rank those 4 when it comes to state championship caliber games?
That is kind of tough right there because, I've actually been to all 4 of them. been in. Don't know if I've been in UNC's press box, but I know I was in Duke's press box and NC State's press box. I think that was NC State's press box. You saw that you and I finally met each other in last year. Now, I mean, I think Duke's new facility, was very, very outstanding.
All right, we got everybody together.
Yeah, hold on, Jeff. The person I'm chatting with told me how to fix it. So
Okay, cool.
that was it.
Cool. We got everybody together here. So, yeah, that's right. We got to see you, Dale. I've got to tell you, Jeff's one of the best looking guys I've ever seen in my face. Together, he's got to have girls all over him. That's all
He's
I got
got
to
that
say.
hair, doesn't he? I wish I had.
He's got the hair. He's got the looks. He's got the demeanor. I mean, he's like James Bond.
I'm losing some of it though.
You know what? I'm not gonna add a lot of commentary. I'll do my rankings. I think it's hands down Wake Forest number one.
Yeah,
because it both is the size of the venue and the ability for the fans, so it's not too overwhelming, and yet we had good press boxes. The facilities at Carter Finley are, second to none, but it's awful big. But I'll rank it second.
Yep.
It's hard to rank between the next two, Jim. Chapel Hill's run down, but
I agree.
But Duke never respected the championships.
They did this last time back in 2000. I think it was 2018 or 2019. I was really impressed with how well they did. I saw Murphy and Pamlico.
How many times did they schedule basketball games on the day of the championships?
Oh, no.
There's in that. I just don't think
that's
I don't think they have the respect for the championships enough.
Yeah,
they'd have to not do that a few times to have it's not going to matter that it will not be at any of those four venues if it's there this year. But that's my rankings. It's hard between Duke and Chapel Hill because of the facilities at Chapel Hill are just so. I don't know why they don't build a stadium. They don't build a new stadium. I don't get it.
So Jeff, are you saying Chapel Hill? Why Chapel Hill doesn't build one?
I was talking about the stadium at Duke. Isn't that relatively new? Isn't that a new stadium? Didn't they rebuild theirs?
No, it's been refurbished, but it's I guess Wallace Wade goes back to the 20s. Is that right, Dale?
It looks like it goes back pre-concrete era.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
I was very impressed with NC State's facilities last year. I was actually going to rank them number one. Because of course, Jim, that's where you met me last year.
Well, Jeff, their facilities are second to none without question. Their facilities are better than Wake Forest. And if we were talking a crowd that's going to be watching football on Saturday, college football, without question, NC State's got the best facilities in North Carolina. But we're talking about a high school championship. Wake Forest is just more comfortable for the fans, I think. And honestly, the treatment, Jim, I think the treatment we receive from Wake Forest is media.
Oh, yes. They get better foods. It's just
get better food. Exactly. They wanted us. You could tell
they were happy to see us.
They wanted us there. Exactly. They were happy to see us. NC State was like, okay, we're glad you're here, blah, blah, blah. And my experiences at Duke and Chapel Hill have been, they could care Duke just didn't seem to care at all. Now, I didn't go the last time. The last time I went to Duke was the last time it was there, and that was when they were building the stadium, and we had no press box. We were given pizza. It was a cold night, such a cold night that Tommy Knotts wore jogging pants. And they set pizza out at the top of the stadium, where the press box would be.
And get cold.
And it was cold, and it was in a box. It just was, and Wake is like, come on in, oh, we're so good to see you.
I can't eat cold pizza.
I love Wake Forest. I love going to Wake Forest. I just can't. And
it's closer to us.
So Garrett, who's your number one? Garrett, I don't know if we can hear you, man.
You must be on mute, buddy.
Yeah, on mute.
So let's see what people might be saying.
Well, I'll give you, while Garrett's figuring it out, I'll give you my top four. Number one is I got to take Wake Forest just because. And the thing about it is with the amenities in the press box, I don't think it was that far behind NC State. You actually there's one room that you can get really close to the field, a lot closer than you can at Carter Finley. It is a heck of a view. Number two, I'd take Carter Finley. Number three, I'd actually take Duke just because their press box is, it looks like it's something that Charlie Choo Justice didn't, just come out of the clay fields with. But I mean, that whole thing is just bad. Oh, it says Garrett says host muted it. Let's see here. Garrett, speak up, man. See if you can hear us.
I can hear you, but can you hear me?
We can hear you now.
Good.
You're top four, man.
Okay. I've had the privilege of being at 3 out of 4. Duke I've never been to, but Wake and State are top 2, hands down. Wake, like you said, when I went down there in 13 to Wake, they, like you said, were glad to see us. They were very supportive, welcoming, and the guy that ran it was like one of the administrators or something for that county school system, and it just the travel was fun because the stadium's in the middle of pretty nowhere and on campus. But State, I was very impressed with how they treated the media. They did well with them, but they did they did a little bit of kind of like just common stuff like a pizza or whatever. But like the VIPs, they had like catering and stuff like that. I know I walked into one VIP rooms one time and during one state championship games at State, they were like getting, at halftime they were getting like macaroni and cheese and string beans and stuff like that, And I'm like, good Lord, they over here getting catered food.
Wake Forest is like you get filet mignon, you get baked potatoes, you get the really good type of baked potatoes.
Another thing with Wake and State, I remember at State one time I went, I got a souvenir, take home State cup, and that was pretty cool. I I like Wake and State, better in my opinion. As far as 1 and 2, Duke, from what y'all was talking about, Duke is probably gonna be number 3. Um, Carolina.
There's a big drop down between with Wake and NC State. They're higher echelon than the other two, that's for sure.
Yeah, and Carolina, Duke, being private school, you expect it to be the cream of the crop, but I ain't never been to Duke.
Well,
But
it's not that it's not good facilities. It's that they will schedule a big basketball game
Yeah.
on the same day that we're having the state championships, and
Right.
we got to compete with that parking, and they don't pay attention. So it's
Or
really
just don't
about
care.
the way everything is treated, and then from a player's perspective, if players were to um, choose schools over what they saw, certainly they would choose NC State. Um,
Right.
the locker rooms and all that other stuff. But quite honestly, no matter what, and that's what we really need to be focused on, is that the student athletes were able to go into those locker rooms and they're able to play on the field with the big jumbotron up there that
Now,
Right.
can show the
now,
replays. And
Jim, Jim Dale, I'm sorry to cut you off on this, but one thing about Carolina that I heard, this was back when they were doing like the re uh, modeling of the facility at Carolina. Um, I heard that people were complaining about how small, locker rooms were, and that they had to make the people, the champions, both East and West champions, dressed in like the bathrooms and stuff like that. And it just, Carolina just did not, to me, it did not make it feel like, you didn't feel like a VIP. You didn't feel like you were a state champion. Your fans didn't feel like you're state champions. You just felt like you was just part of the crowd. And they, would have a big basketball game, like you just said, at Carolina, or move the game to a Friday night, just accommodate to a basketball game for Saturday. It's like, oh, you guys are here for a football game, you can come to the basketball game next too.
Yeah.
It's like about money. Hey, our fans can come right here to the basketball game and after the football game. And that, to me, that's what it felt like. It just felt like
yeah, maybe not money, but more about where they focus their resources. For Duke and for Chapel Hill, basketball is a big thing. Now,
Well, last
Mike, I'm sorry, Jeff. Let's answer this question here first. In the future, where do you expect championship football games to be played?
I could probably answer that question pretty good.
And
From what I heard, from what I was told this week that Lawrence Joe, Wake Forest is going to host all of the state championship games.
No,
Um,
I don't
people
heard the
expect
same
that.
thing.
Well, just hear me out. This was told by somebody that went to the NCHSAA meeting down here in Kenansville last week. And so he pretty much heard it from the horse's mouth himself.
I heard
That-
some wild stories about that, but
That
I
Wake
heard
Forest
the
was
same
going to
thing.
host it. And they said that people
They'd
were
have to host-
complaining about how the distance was, and it wasn't neutral, and the facilities were too small, and blah blah blah. And so they all kind of, from what he told me, was that Wake Forest is going to be the neutral site for all state championship games this year. Now,
Oh, not
I-
this
Yeah,
year.
we're
no.
talking future, and
Talking about future.
And I think the future is what they said too. But
I
I mean,
don't
Yeah,
I
I
don't
heard the
expect
future.
that.
I heard the future about that about BB&T Field, but
Yeah, but how they going to host so many games?
Thursday, Friday, Saturday night games. That's
Yeah,
one thing I
that's
heard.
probably,
I also heard they're
probably
yeah.
going to
gonna
do
do
Sunday games, which I
It's
don't
just
believe for the second.
if that were so I don't believe that rumor one bit.
Yeah,
What I
I
believe
heard the
is going
same
to
thing though.
happen.
Yeah,
I know, but I believe what we're going to see happen is exactly what we had in the 90s, in the 80s. It's going to be played on. There'll be an East
Friday
home,
night
West
game.
home, rotating each year, and they'll be played at the. If you listen to what Q had to say and what she's been saying, these venues aren't going to be where we're having state championships. It's going to be home. It's going to be at high school
Yeah, that's what I
stadium.
also heard.
It's going to
Yep.
be at high school stadium. Now in Charlotte, you can use Memorial Stadium. I don't believe you'd be able to use Charlotte's field, college field. I don't believe we'll see because corporate sponsorships and all are gone. So you can't have any corporate sponsorship involved in this stuff. Who's going to fund a Wake Forest? A Wake Forest is not central. Charlotte's more central than is Winston-Salem.
and Greensboro.
Charlotte and Greensboro, but there's no place. Excuse me, Wake Forest can't host the games. There's just too many games, too many days, too much. That's just one of the hurdles. I think the
No,
corporate sponsorship's a bigger hurdle.
this is what I do,
Um,
guys. First thing is we don't know how many classifications we're going to have after
Mhm.
2024. If it's going to be 4 or 7 or 6 or
True.
5 or whatever it is. What I would do is start having East Regional Championships and West Regional Championships, and having every year have it in 2 different locations, like Dowdy Ficklin. If you can arrange to have some
Yeah.
games at Dowdy Ficklin, that would be a wonderful sight. Over was it the Catamounts over Western Carolina, having somewhere over there. East Burke is a nice place. In Greensboro, Jameson. Oh my gosh, that place is beautiful over there.
Right.
Over in Murfreesboro, Chowan University, I love that place. Plants, very few schools or very few athletes are going to be able to are going to be Division One. Show them these other venues. So help me, Murfreesboro. I think I'd fit in probably better at Murfreesboro than I did at UNC. I graduated there 30 some years ago.
Mm-hmm.
You go there
Lewis Creek
to
down in the east.
Bowies Creek, yeah, Campbell. Heck, we could go over to where'd you go to, Jeff? Were you over Forest View? Were you Forest View High School, or where'd you graduate from?
I graduated from Forest View High School.
Okay, heck, do it over in Gastonia. What's the biggest stadium in Gastonia?
Ashbrook.
The biggest
Ashbrook is-
stadium. Yeah, it's probably Ashbrook. Probably seats more than both Forest View and Hunter Huss.
It's about 5,000 or 6,000 people could fit in there, couldn't they?
East Gas.
That's all you need for. So help me, that's all you need for a regional championship. If you get 6,000 people in a place, you're in pretty good shape.
Of course, we've used our baseball field that we got in Gastonia. For the honey hunters, we've used that stadium for a few football games, but I don't think it would be ideal for a championship.
And Jim, I've thought smaller colleges is a great way to go, but now I don't know I don't know how feasible that is with the new money arrangement.
What do you think of Lenore Ryan?
Oh, I love it. I'll take Lenore Ryan over UNC. And the reason why I say that is I believe I'm a big fan of the minority. Don't go to the big guys. Like I went to an IBM school, so did Dale, NC State, Carolina.
About A&T.
Their A&T is a great place to go to. I mean, or actually NC Central. Go to Shaw University, places like that.
Right.
Gosh, the eastern part of the state, Elizabeth City State, Northeastern High School. That's a great stadium right over there. I mean, give those places some recognition, because I'll tell you right now that it brings so much civic pride in the area. And not only talk about that, but also the history of the area. Back until 84, I think in 1984 was the last year that the East or West hosted their own football state championship. I think it was like, the 71st, whatever, actually hosted a tie game on their home field.
I think these are things that we will need to try to push to pursue for the future, Jim.
Yeah.
One of the questions might be going to these other non-state schools. I don't know, with the new with the NCHSAA, that wouldn't have been an issue, but under the North Carolina Board of Education, it might even have to be, if it were to be a college campus, they would require it to be a state, school. Who knows? And we can't afford those state schools, as we know now.
Dale, I just thought about something. Have you ever noticed how much Jeff and Johnny Damon look alike? I mean, look at that hair, man. That is some of the best lettuce you've ever seen before.
I think that hair looks great. I really do.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I'm serious. That's Johnny Damon.
I would grow it out, Jeff, and put it in a ponytail if that were my head.
So I'm Peter Brady.
I'm
Dale Garrett.
I'm Telly Savalas.
Yeah.
I did undercuts lately, so
yeah, I would put it. I'd have that hair and put it in a ponytail. That's what I'd do.
I mean, look at that lettuce, man. I am jealous. But anyway.
So Mike, I think we're going to have to wait until next, the off season. We right now don't know what all is happening with the NCHSAA. From what I've read, Jim, they're going to have to dissolve and move into under the North Carolina Board of Education. So they will move all their assets and everything in and under. Now, if that happens, that leaves a big question. What happens with the endowment money? Because
that's the big thing right there. Because I'm not trying to be funny, but are the parochial schools whatsoever under the?
No. Jeff, can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Just went froze for a second.
Jim, you froze. I think we were good. Keep going. You said, does the parochial schools, and then you cut off.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Do the parochial schools, are they under the venue of the state superintendent?
No.
I didn't think so either.
No.
I mean, if I was the Charlotte Catholics and the Cardinal Gibbons and the Christ the Kings and Bishop McGinnis's, I'd sue the tar out of the state, for trying to take my money away from us. I mean, you can say, you know what, the North Carolina High School Athletic Association it oversees the schools of 4 schools, parochial schools right now.
Mm-hmm.
Be done with it all, but
yeah, that's a good question, and I think that this can be the tool for them to finally expel those that want the parochial schools expelled from the NCHSAA, that this is the tool that's going to be used to do it. That's another concern I have, is that we had an athletic association that anybody could join as long as they agreed to the rules and regulations, the law of the land, and followed the law of the land. Then a Providence Day could join, a Charlotte Christian could join, as long as they follow the law of the land. But now,
the Duplin Day Charter School.
Yeah. Well, the charter schools are public schools. So
I know. I was saying if Garrett's listening to us or not.
So they will fall under the ability to remain in. But I see people using this as a tool to push out Charlotte Catholic and Cardinal Gibbons. And
So, talking about some craziness, Newbern, they had to forfeit their 2022 4A state championship.
yep.
I've seen people get all upset about Grimsley. They're like, oh my gosh, Grimsley should be the 2022 4A state champion. I mean, anybody that lost to Newbern
Had a
in the
chance to
playoffs,
be the state champion. Exactly.
they had every one of them had a chance to be the state champion, and they lost to Newbern.
That's right.
First thing I got to say, anybody that plays in Newbern, the students, I am on your side on this. I think everybody here will tell you that they fully support you. We don't hold any of you whatsoever responsible for what happened. This had to do with the people that actually were in positions of oversight.
Adults.
They let you down.
Adults let you down.
And
See, Forest View was on the other side of this equation in basketball back in 2009. When Northern Guilford initially won the 3A state title, and they defeated Forest View for 66-52, and then later on it was reviewed that they used 2 or 3 ineligible players for the entire year, and they had to forfeit. What happens in that situation, if I'm not mistaken, is nobody wins the championship. It simply gets vacated.
It's vacated. That's right. Someone asked, well, what kind of punishment is that? Because they still won it on the field and they got rings. They're not giving the rings back. The record books will not recognize them. They will not be. So in the future, people are going to look and see who won this particular year's state championship, Jeff, whatever sport, and they're going to see vacated.
Nothing. Yeah, it's vacated.
Exactly.
The one thing I was going to say, though, that they're supposed to pay, I think, $38,000 fine, and that has to do with all the ticket receipts from the playoffs. I'm kind of curious about what's going to happen.
Where's that money going to go to? Exactly.
Well, also, will a state representative over in Newbern get all upset and say, you know what, we do not believe in this stuff. This is punitive whatsoever. And we do not want the school to have to pay that stuff, so we're going to rescind it. Who knows what's going to happen there?
Well, right now, exactly.
Yeah.
They don't have to pay it. They could fight paying it. And the fact with the NCHSAA having less oversight, see, that's what people don't understand, where the money comes from. That's one of the places that money that the NCHSAA has comes from. The fines and all that are levied against teams that do highly unethical things that happen with Newbern, not with kids, but with adults.
Yeah.
And that's where the money comes. Say again.
Exactly. And that's where it comes back to. You cannot politicize this stuff whatsoever. You also got to, these are teachable moments right here. Kids are going to see this. They're like, oh gosh, I can break the rules. Oh, we can put all these kids that, this wasn't just, this wasn't a eligibility issue necessarily. This is an academic eligibility on top of it.
Academic eligibility issue.
And that's when you have collusion, you have fraud. There are some people that should never be associated with high school athletics or high schools or public education in the state of North Carolina.
With youth. They should never again should they be allowed to be anywhere
that was some of the worst learning things at all. I mean, it goes back to like Tom McGinnis back in 2017 or whatever year it was. I mean, he was trying to wind himself out to get Q to back down. And good for Q for standing up for principles.
Exactly. Rules and laws and regulations, people accept them. Some people accept them until they go against them. And then all of a sudden they don't want to accept them. They don't want to recognize them. They want to appeal them. And that was a perfect situation. And to argue and complain that Q wouldn't overturn that situation is just wrong. That's the way the rule was written. And B, I don't think there was any gray area to that situation. And that situation is why we have the situation we have today.
Now, Jim Dale, yeah, I want to throw my penny's worth on this right quick. My thing about it, I saw an article where I saw the headline about New England vacating the state championship. Number one, you would not be able to take away that experience from those student athletes, that experience of going to play in the state championship game. That's gonna live with them forever. The rings, that's gonna be with them forever too. Now in the record books and stuff, it's not gonna show it, but at the school it's gonna show it. But the biggest thing is that you're not gonna be able to take away that experience and that moment for those children, but because of some mistakes or whatever, whether it was accidentally or
it wasn't accidental,
or even blatant mistakes made by the administration.
I don't even want to call them mistakes. These were intentional.
Okay, well,
here this way, somebody was walking down the road and they pulled their pants down and mooned them. That's the kind of mistake happened.
Exactly. They didn't. The pants didn't fall down.
It's intentional.
Yeah.
It's incidents. Incident.
Well, maybe that person was just trying to crack everybody up.
Oh, Lord.
Oh, Jeff. That's what I miss about Jeff.
It comes to puns. But that intentional incident that at Newman. Now you also got to look at it too. I hate to say this. I may upset people when I say this, but all schools are doing it. Believe it or not.
Not as bad as this.
Not as bad as that, but they are kind of going. They either shaving or not. We're not even shaving, but they kind of cut
corners.
Keep getting loopholes and trying to keep players on the squad that academically may not be eligible, covering grades or whatever. I know that I've heard rumors this happened locally down here years ago that happened down here years ago, and I'm not saying school, but I'm saying it's happened locally. So that's what the rumors will say. This
which school is it? Which school is it, Garrett? Which school is it? Come on, man, spill it out.
What school? It was numerous schools that I've heard.
There you go. I like that.
Schools that I've heard this rumor about.
But you know what, Garrett? No matter what, when this is done, you have to punish because it's a teaching moment to the kids. And honestly, I don't believe that state championship will be displayed at Newbern. They can't. They won't have the trophy. The trophy has to be given back.
Well, okay.
And I would expect that they would not. That's kind of a disgraceful thing, and that's what you want is a disgraceful thing, right? So that the kids are aware of what happened, and really all the kids should be made aware. And though I'm sure they know what happened, but it needs to be acknowledged to them what happened, and this was the penalty we had to pay. And so, no, you are not a state champion. You won the game, but you won the game illegally. And we are not going to, even the school, are not going to recognize that. Now, it was done because of adults making, unethical moves.
I was trying to think, well, you know what? You take that trophy and maybe you could take a video of it like being like imploded or something like that and explain like why crime doesn't pay. I mean, I know
Right.
that sounds ugly and all that stuff, but
No, it doesn't. It's got validity to the
it's got
statement.
validity on that.
Yeah.
I mean, suddenly, I mean, these guys, gave it all on the field and, got the desired results. And, years from now, when people mention that particular team, nobody's going to remember that. I mean, it won't be a ring to it.
Actually, what'll happen is, to some of these guys, they'll mention that they played on that team, and they may not mention, the when they're 30 years old, 35, 40 years old, they're going to be talking with someone, and that someone's going to know that, oh yeah, y'all cheated. That's what some of the players will face in the future. I'm not saying all of them, but I'm sure that some of them will hear from peers and others that you cheated, because they're going to, they're going to work with other people that they played against or in other areas. We lost Jim. I hate we lost Jim. Hopefully he's coming back. He can come back in. So anyway, Jeff, I think that's right. It'll be a forgotten thing, and unfortunately, though they didn't do it, they're going to have to face some ridicule from people in the future.
Didn't Washington have to forfeit their championship like back in 2000 or 2001?
Yeah, I think that's right.
And
Yeah,
because that was around the time we had that North Gaston fiasco back in 2001.
right. So we kind of got on this. I made the mention of Mo Green running, and I'm going to be posting a lot on Twitter about that. Trying to get him. I sent a message to Langston tonight about us interviewing him over on Talking Preps. We need to get somebody into that position that understands student athletes and their needs, and at least not make this a complete disaster. Right now, today, well, before this law went into effect, we had the number one association in the nation. And from a financial status, it wasn't even close. We provide great training for coaches, ADs, officials. All that's going to go. All that's going to go away. I don't know what's going to remain and how things are going to operate. Actually, one of the things that was going through my mind is all that is the NCHSAA, from an organizational thought, start up as a private entity and sponsor private athletics. And instead of having school-based athletics, we start having private athletics. Now, I'm not talking about private schools, but I'm talking about other athletic organizations that aren't sponsored by the school itself. It might take something like that to be able to provide the kind of the same level. That's what it would take to provide the same level that we have today. Practically, that's not going to happen. So I think
And yet, and of course, agree with the background checks, for all those who get passes to come into the games. I mean, I had no problem with that. And then, of course, there were a couple. There was like one key ruling that I felt like needed to pass, to protect certain people, in our athletic or certain student athletes. There's a couple things that the legislation passed that I do agree with.
Such as?
Well, like keeping the biological boys out of the girls' sports. I think that's one thing that needed to be passed. And then, of course, like I said, the background checks. I have no problem being background checked for my credentials. I mean, you know me. I've been doing this.
I don't know so much as they were about that. The NCHSAA had been talking about that as well. Some school systems were already requiring it. There was discussion of that in CMS, and especially in CMS today, you have to go through those kinds of things to legally be in the box on a football field. So, I mean, that's something I'm glad we have. It's something I've thought about for a few years now because I'm kind of under the responsibility of everybody with their passes kind of comes back to me. And how much of that am I able to control? Of us getting a bad person involved. That's a scary thing, Jeff. So that's a very background checks I think are good and actually maybe need to be a little bit stronger than what they are.
Like, what would you suggest as far as the stronger background, like how much we contribute to Carolina Varsity, for example?
No,
like,
no,
what do we do?
I'm just speaking strictly on background checks about for the security of high school athletes or of students and humans. So the background check as to whether you should be around students and whether you should be the exact purpose we have background checks right now. That's what I'm thinking needs to be maybe even more stringent because I can't believe that the background checks that they did run were very thorough because they happened too quickly. So that's what I mean, Jeff. As far as who's working for Carolina Varsity and what they're doing, that's a good topic, and I don't have an answer for that right now, other than I have got to be conscious of who we bring on, that they are contributing and not not just getting a pass into a game. But that's a whole nother topic.
You're also wanting criminal background checks too, right?
I'm talking about criminal.
Yeah.
Is that what you said? Yeah, that I would like to see an even more thorough background check than probably what took place currently, or what takes place currently. All right, Jim, you got your rankings up.
All right. I thought we'd start with the 1A East. Tarboro number one. I don't think anybody's ever going to debate that. Number two, though, I'm going to say there's a little bit of separation between the rest of them. West Columbus this last week beat Whiteville. And I think West Columbus is a very strong number two, just like I think North Duplin is right there at 3 and North Moore is at 4. 5 through 8 is pretty much negotiable, but I don't see any team coming within 3 or 4 scores with against Tarboro.
Yeah, Tarboro.
Garrett, what's your opinion, Garrett?
Honestly, I agree. Tarboro kind of reminds me of Wallace back in the early 2000s.
Yeah.
Wallace came in, dropped down to 1A and went in the little small 1A, and they pretty much just ran roughly over 1A. And Provo was kind of the same. Now, West, that West Coast Bible game, looked at the score, and West response was how just was kind of game. I thought like we were going to probably be about 2 or 3 touchdowns. But I didn't know anybody else. But West Coast came the game. As far as a block was on back touchdown. So I'd say West Columbus probably, I'm not just saying going to beat Provo, but I think Provo has a probably bad game tonight. They might, but I ended so they can
I think West Columbus is good enough where they may not have a running clock against them.
Yeah, they probably
yeah, maybe not a running clock. I'll agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's go to the 1A West next. We'll go to the 1A West next. Mount Airy, number 1. Robbinsville is number 2. I think those 1 and 2 are pretty close to each other. 3, 4, and 5, and I don't say 3, 4, and 5 are kind of in their own same bucket. I could make an argument with Drawn being as high as 3. Actually, I could make an argument Drawn being as high as number 2. But I will say right now, Eastern, Randolph, Swain, and Drawn. Murphy is just maybe a little bit behind those other 3, and then got Mountain Heritage and Mitchell. Mitchell, they played Drawn this past week, and basically was a 3-touchdown lead at halftime, and the final score was pretty close to that. Drawn pretty much handled Mitchell. Guys, anybody's going to beat Mount Airy or Robbinsville? Anybody else you think in here that's worth mentioning? You can see right here I don't have
that's going to beat 1 and 2.
Yeah, you'll see I don't have Thomasville listed here.
Yeah, I do see that. Drawn could sneak into the mix, but I don't think so. I mean Mount Airy's my pick. Robbinsonville, yeah, can make it tough, but I think there's a gap right in that right at that spot. Actually, you said you could see the others maybe even up to Robbinsville, but I don't know. I don't think so. But
yeah,
I think there's a gap there, a little bit of a gap.
How about you, Jeff?
Yeah, I think you guys pretty much hit it on the head. Like with Robbinsville being number 1 and Mount Airy being 2. I mean, of course, maybe those 2 can be interchangeable. And then you got Drawn that's playing some very good ball, but I'm not sure they can. I'm not sure they have the horses to run with the boys of Mayberry or
Black Knights.
The boys of Mayberry. They are interchangeable, by the way, Jeff. They are actually interchanged.
Yes.
Mount Airy's he's got Mount Airy at 1. So just thought I'd let you know. They are actually interchanged.
I think I thought that's what I mentioned, that they're both interchangeable.
You did, but you said or do you think Robbinsville is number 1 and Mount Airy is number 2? Is that your thought?
It's really hard to say. I mean, since I haven't seen any of them play, I think a couple of years ago I saw Mount Airy play and beat Tarboro in the state championship, which kind of surprised me. But
I think that was last year, wasn't it? I think Mount Airy won last year.
Here's the thing I can say about these 2 programs. You can go back to almost any year. and
They're going to be good.
find good teams out of both of them. Exactly.
Now, the 2A East is Clinton right now. Clinton, they had demolished Wallace Rose Hill. They demolished Whiteville. They've just done a great job everywhere they've gone.
Mm-hmm. East
Duplin, to me, is the number 2. After that, Wallace Rose Hill, Northeastern, Hereford, just pretty much the same characters. I knocked Whiteville out of the top 8. I threw in Southwest Edgecombe. I think they're a team that's a sleeper right now. You don't have many people talking about that, but that right there, Southwest Edgecombe. That's their number 1 rival for Tarboro. So I really do like West Craven and Nash Central also for the same reasons. They're kind of going under the radar, but I think right now it's Clinton's to lose at this point.
That's my thought.
How about you, Garrett? 2A East. If there was a team that beat Clinton right now in the 2A East, who would it be? And don't say James Keenan. We'll have to mute you if you say James Keenan.
That's highly possible. James Keenan's a lot of the weeks that the thing I think that probably could come close to anything with Clinton right now is probably going to be Northeastern. I'm not
Northeastern.
sure
Okay.
about Northeastern. I don't know much about them, but that's the only team that I think could get close to them. Yes, like I said,
You are.
Clinton is the same, but probably know that.
All right, that was Max Headroom coming in from Garrett.
Yeah,
Futz
he's got to
in
fix
Warsaw.
that.
Yeah, I will say this about Northeastern. There is no D in Northeastern. They do not play defense. They give up a lot of points, but they keep on winning. That would be a fun team to watch. I love watching Coach Moore's team. They're fun, great guy, great coaching staff. But defense is not their specialty this year. Let's go to the 2A West, because right now we had some movement this last week. We had 2 big games. Monroe pretty much waxed Forest Hills. I think it was 28-0 at sometime in the third quarter when that game got called because of fighting in the stands. And then the other big game, Bunker Hill beat West Lincoln, which I understand was a very good game. Jeff, which game were you at this last weekend?
I actually, the fans, yes, I punted my decision, and the fans sent me to the, North Gaston at Ashbrook game, which wasn't very lopsided, 21-13 Ashbrook.
Oh, Ashbrook won that game. I did not know that.
Yes, they did.
Okay.
Well, Jim, that Bunker Hill game.
Allen was at that game.
West Lincoln led the game up into the fourth quarter, and I think it was up until about 5 minutes left in the game. They were winning that ball game, but carried the same score from halftime, and Bunker Hill got a touchdown to win it. So West Lincoln played very well. I thought they were going to win the game, and I picked them to win.
Allen and I would have had to do push-ups if West Lincoln won.
Has anyone actually heard of any coaches in your area supporting the legislature taking over control? So I saw Big Red Sports, so I just thought I'd throw that up there.
I haven't heard of anybody.
No, I'm not aware of anybody that supports what's going on.
No.
Not especially not a head coach or athletic director.
No.
The people who are actually members of the NCHSAA, no. Athletic directors, the people who sit on the committees, etc.
I'll
And
tell you one dark horse you won't hear, but they might show up in the playoffs.
who is that? Shelby?
Yep.
See, I think this is Monroe's region to lose. First of all, I think it's their region to lose. Reidsville, as Reidsville is, could be a bit of a problem. I know Jim's got some issues with Salisbury, but Salisbury's still kind of hanging in there. They could. I just think, Jeff, I think Burns is better than Shelby out of Cleveland County.
That's going to be a good game to watch the last week of the season, but I've already pretty much made my choice on which game I'm going to, and we'll talk about that game later.
So, yeah, I guess as history says, you have to pay attention to Shelby, but
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you right now, if it was
I think West Lincoln will go further than Shelby will in the playoffs. There's my state.
I agree with you. And to be honest with you, if it wasn't for the word Shelby in that name, they wouldn't be in the top 8 right now.
Right.
I mean, who have they beat?
Olympic. What about Olympic?
Well,
No, I mean, they beat Olympic. That's the only team. That's not even a name, really.
I don't even know that that's a good win this year. Maybe it would have been a good win last year.
Yeah.
You know, when Olympic was playing better football, but this year.
See, right now, I think 2A West is Monroe to lose at this point.
Yeah, I think we're looking at a.
And be honest with you, I think Reidsville and Burns are probably the best other two. Bunker Hill, we'll see here. You know, Bunker Hill, they keep on doing everything. They get some luck behind them, stay healthy. They can make a really good run. Salisbury, I just don't think those kids are having a lot of fun over Salisbury for whatever reason. I know their coaching can't be because their coaching's got to be frustrated, but we shall see on that. So let's go.
What do you guys
go ahead?
What do you guys think of East Gaston?
They're my number 19, number 9.
I think East Gaston's going to win all but 2 games.
Yep.
Burns
In the regular season. So,
and I'll tell you right now, they win both those games, they'll be in the top 3.
Oh, if they can win both of those games, if they were to be undefeated at the end of regular season,
they might be 2.
They would rightfully be a top 5 and top 3. They'd be rightfully a top 3 team because they beat Burns and Shelby. Yeah, that's top 3 material there.
I think at this point it's kind of pushing it.
It's like pushing a 200-pound wheelbarrow up a 45-degree hill.
Yeah.
It'll be awful hard.
Yeah, on racing slicks on top of it all.
Yeah, and 2 inches of ice.
And 2 inches of ice, that's right. Now, so going to 3A East, right now I believe that 71st is still the best team, but I will tell you right now, they showed a little bit of a chink in their armor right now. Their offense is maybe not quite as strong as a lot of people thought they were. Cape Fear gave them fits this last week. I think the final score was something like 12-7. But I've still got 71st 1. I got Scotland 2. Scotland, if they beat Pinecrest, they're going to jump over 71st.
If Scotland can beat Pinecrest, that's a good win for Scotland. That's not just a good win. That's a huge win.
That's a huge win
for Scotland, exactly. And you know, Scotland is kind of crept up the list here, and
now kind of going down the list though, Jacksonville at number 5. That team right there has gotten very little exposure. They've had some good wins. I think they'll later on have to play Havelock. Right now, Jacksonville, they're playing just as good as any other team right now in 3A East. Southern Alamance, they're good. And the only reason why they're ahead of Southern Nash, they played each other earlier on the season. I think they beat Southern Nash by about 4 points. And then I threw Cape Fear in there. Eastern Alamance fell off. They lost to Williams this last week. So I'm going to tell you right now, 3A East might be a little bit closer than a lot of people thought they were as of last week. I see probably 4 or 5 teams that can win it. Dale, if you had to pick 3 teams out of the East, who would you take right now?
Well, I definitely would take 71st in Scotland.
Where does Havelock?
Well, I'm glad you asked Havelock because I don't know. I would pick Havelock, Jim, but
that 3, 4, and 5, they're the teams right there. Northern Nash, Havelock, and Jacksonville.
Exactly. It's tough to pick out of those teams, but I kind of like Havelock.
So let's go to the 3A West. I had some movement this last week, and Dale, I know you might not be happy with me because I know at one time you thought Crest would be number 1, and I had them number 2. I've actually dropped Crest down to 3.
Right.
I am going to play right there with Sam Griner. Coach Sam, if you're here, this is your time. If you win this next week, if you keep on winning, I will consider moving you to number 1. I'm not promising you that, but I'll consider that. I think right now you might be just a little bit better than Crest. It's very close at this point, but I think 1, 2, and 3, you got a little bit of separation. Kings Mountain's just a little bit behind. And then I think there's a separation between Kings Mountain and J.M. Robinson and Hickory and West Henderson, AC Reynolds. You can throw South Point in there also.
Yeah, so Jim, if West Charlotte beats Huff, I think in my mind there's no question. West Charlotte will be the number 1 team in 3A, not just 3A West, but in 3A.
But nobody stopped Crest offense yet this year.
Now, Crest has got to find some defense.
I'll be right back, guys.
That's I have been all season saying Crest, and Crest is definitely got the offense, but man, look what South Point came out and did to them. That should have never happened. Maybe South Point's better than I was thinking going into the game last week, but Crest has got.
It's funny. It's funny you mentioned that because I was going to try and go to the South Point Crest game until South Point lost to Hunter Huss.
You still should have gone to the South Point Crest game.
It's just after they got beat by Huss, it sort of lost their luster.
It didn't matter. It didn't matter to me. To me, it wouldn't have mattered. Just not a. See, me, if I'd have been able to get back in time, I had a bad Friday. I would that was a game I would have considered myself, Crest, South Point, because I thought Crest would win it. I didn't think they would be down big and have to come back from behind to win it. I figured if anybody got up big, it would have been Crest, but that didn't happen. So, I don't know. I'm going to West Charlotte Huff Friday night. What a game that has the potential to be. Kings Mountain, there's some good teams there, and Hickory's. I guess we're gonna have to watch and see what Hickory, continues to do throughout the season. But maybe those guys are semi in the mix. But I think that top 4 teams, still your teams, out of the West to be considered with. But hey,
AC Reynolds, look out for them.
Well, and even South Point is proven now that they can be a roadblock to any of these teams. So,
right.
3A West is pretty deep.
I mean, I'm Like I said, it's a Kings Mountain Crest game that I plan on going to at the very end of the year, and nothing has deterred me. I don't think anything's going to deter me. I'm not even going to do a poll that week.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm basically going to make a beeline from work all the way to Kings Mountain.
See, that game
Yeah.
being the Kings Mountain, there's a good chance Kings Mountain's going to win that game.
You want to go, Dave?
When is that?
Last week of the season.
Last week of the season. So I might, Jeff. There's a couple of good games last week of the season, but I might. That would be a excellent football game to go see, without question.
But if you're not able to make it, I'll have your highlights.
I hear you, brother.
So let's look at the 4A East. And be honest with you, there's a little bit, some fluidity there. I think Rolesville is the number 1 team, and Cleveland is just a little bit behind them, just not much, but a little bit behind them. And after that, Pinecrest, Tigard, Cardinal Gibbons, you can pick them 3, 4, 5 any way you want to. I like the way I picked them, to be honest with you. Then 6, 7, 8. I do have Leesville Road in there. I think they might be the 8th best team, but I mean, there's some teams I left out here. Millbrook's one of them. Gosh, I'm trying to think who else. Newbern. I don't have Newbern on here because they had to forfeit a lot of games, and I don't know how that's going to affect them in the playoffs. It can't be anything good, that's for sure.
Right. Rolesville with that big win early in the season. The one thing about 4A East, I think, is that it's not as treacherous as the West. It's not as deep.
No,
some
not
good
even
teams
close.
there in the top part of these rankings here. There's some good teams there. Pinecrest, Cleveland. Maybe you can't count out Cardinal Gibbons, but I think Rolesville right now, that win just looks more and more impressive. Because we can see where you've got Butler ranked.
And you know who Rolesville's lost one game? They lost to Grimsley. So
yeah, and Grimsley is, I think, rightfully now the best team in the West.
Yeah.
So there's some tough teams. There are some tough teams in 4A. It's just, I think 4A West is brutal as you go down, not just the top 8, but as you keep going down.
I mean, you got Lake Norman, you got East Forsyth, you got some other Mecklenburg teams like Mallard Creek.
So last game of the season, Jeff, Mooresville and Lake Norman play.
That's a great game to go to.
Yeah, there's a good chance they'll both be undefeated, though Lake Norman plays Hickory Ridge this week. So we'll see what happens. And I'm
kind of curious about this Huff versus West Charlotte game. If Huff handles West Charlotte, they may move up to 3. I don't know.
Who, Huff?
If Huff, if they have a really good game against West Charlotte and win by a very impressive, if they have a very impressive victory, they might move up against Weddington. I don't know. I think Huff can actually move up in the rankings a little bit.
Yeah, I think Weddington and Butler are neck and neck with each other. I mean, their score proved it on the field, right. And I believe that will continue to hold true. The question is how much of a gap there is between Grimsley and Butler. I've seen Huff play. Huff's really good. West Charlotte's really good. The question, but even if they beat West Charlotte really well, I think Weddington. Weddington plays Porter Ridge this week. About to say I don't remember who they play, but they play Porter Ridge this week. So That's going to be that's not a cakewalk for Weddington.
Who'd
Weddington
you rather
wins.
play? Would you rather play Porter Ridge or West Charlotte?
That,
I'd rather play Porter Ridge myself.
well, it depends on who your team is
Yeah,
because
I agree with that.
Weddington and Porter Ridge have more of a rivalry than would say Weddington and West Charlotte.
Yeah, I agree with you.
That would be a natural rival based upon just competitiveness, Weddington and West Charlotte. But Porter Ridge and Weddington has more than just that competitive rival part going. So I don't know. West Charlotte's a tough team to play, and Huff's a tough team to play. There are good football teams. Porter Ridge is a really good team. I don't know where you have them in your list, but I imagine they're not too far down from 8.
They're
They're
like
probably in the
11th or
15.
12th.
Yeah, I was
they're
gonna say they're probably in the top 15, right?
Oh yes, I got East Forsyth right outside Mallard Creek, Lake Norman.
Right.
I think Myers Park is actually in this conversation. Sun Valley.
So Myers Park and Sun Valley having a record season. Which I don't know if you know Sun Valley, you know that Sun Valley had a long history of losing, and then Scott Stein moved there from. Stein was at Olympic and then East and then Sun Valley. He did well there. Yeah, there's a number of teams that sit on that bubble that are good football teams. This is maybe the deepest classification and group of teams is 4A West.
I agree with you.
So it's a brutal fight to get through the playoffs and make it to the state championship. Just make it to the regional. It's going to be championship caliber games the latter part of the playoffs in the West.
So there's some games on Saturday. I see some games on Saturday. Oh, there are some games on Saturday.
Who's playing Saturday?
So you mentioned.
Dudley.
So one other thing, Jim, you mentioned Myers Park, who really has to move into the equation of being talked about, and they play Ardrey Kell this week. So that's going to be a big ball game right there. Is Myers Park and Ardrey Kell. If Myers Park wins that ball game, they really may be a contending top 8 team. Because you have to look at who they've lost to.
This game right here, Currituck Holmes, is going to be a good one. Ashley Hoggard's going to be another good game.
Yeah,
look at this right here. These are 2 undefeated teams, Perquimans and Tarboro.
Uh-huh.
Tarboro beat them.
Tarboro's winning that ball game. It doesn't matter.
And next weekend, I'm going to be at the coast.
Are you?
So, yep. So I won't be able to cover any local games next week. This Friday I will, but
where on the coast are you going?
Myrtle.
Okay.
Probably closest game to my area would probably be Sakasti.
I was gonna say go over to West Brunswick or South Brunswick. Let's see here. Looking at Apex Friendship and Apex 5-1 teams right here. But let's look down here.
He could go down the coast to Goose Creek.
Guys, that's going way down. Goose Creek.
It might be time for Goose Creek and Berkeley to play.
This right here is going to be an ugly game. Granville Central and Carborough. This right here, this North Brunswick-New Hanover game could be a really good one. North Brunswick's 3A, New Hanover's 4A. One time Hillside Northern Durham may be a great game, not this year. Here's one for you. How about Mooresville, South Iredale? Any chance South Iredale can win that game?
I don't think so. I don't know. I don't think so. There's always a chance, but I don't know what the formula is, other than some injuries, etc. There's some rivalry going on there.
So right here, West Charlotte Huff.
Hmm.
This is going to be a good game. This is going to be a really good game. I think this is a game that I think emotions are going to be running high on both teams. Probably a little bit higher on West Charlotte. I think West Charlotte has a little bit more of a chip on the shoulder than Huff.
They certainly have more to prove as far as what they've, who have been their roadblocks. That's I think without question overall the toughest conference in the state.
Oh yeah.
And so West Charlotte now is not the guys getting pushed around. They are in a position to keep from being pushed around and push back. So yeah, that's going to be a really good ball game. Emotions, yeah.
I was trying my best to trip up Sam this last time on Friday. I said, "Come on, we need to get something to feed this fight here. Tell me something really controversial."
And unfortunately for Sam, give it just a tad of time of work and it can happen. Sam likes to talk.
I said, "Come on, Sam, say something like you think that Huff is all stars from the neck down. Let's go ahead and say it."
We try to keep him from getting in trouble.
I like Sam. He's a darn good coach, good man too.
It's gonna be a great game Friday night. It really will be. So that's where I
right here, West Cabarrus, A.L. Brown. This could be a good game.
And it shouldn't be, but then A.L. Brown's not there, are they?
They're not there right now.
Yeah.
I think A.L. Brown wins big.
I do too. Right here, Weddington, Porter Ridge. I think Weddington's going to win this game.
I believe Weddington wins it too. Yeah.
I think it'll be a couple of scores, but I think it'll be a close game for a while.
I think it's going to be a couple of scores. I don't know. I think it's going to be in the 10
to 13 points. What I'm thinking.
Okay, because that's about where I'm thinking. I don't know. We'll see. I think it's going to be a great game.
Now this is a good game right here. North Duplin versus Lakewood. I got North Duplin win this game, but Lakewood is playing some really good football right now. They're conference rivals. Cardinal Gibbons will be all over Enlow. West Mac, North Mac. I take North Mac in this game. How about you, Dale?
I think so. I hate to say that, but there's the sad thing is there's some potential at West Mac, but not potential to win a conference or anything, but potential to do better. They're not playing at their potential. I'll say that, but I would pick North Mac. I think North Mac's a little more physical.
If I was in Nash County, this is the game I'd go to. Nash Central versus Northern Nash. Yep. Nash Central is a 2A school. Northern Nash is 3A. Believe it or not, this game is going to be really close. I think Northern Nash is a better team, but I don't think it's going to be a blowout. Going on,
folks. I might have to bug out of here because my battery's running low.
All right, Jeff, you take care of yourself, man. We're about done anyway.
Hey, I hope you all have a good rest of the week, and of course, I'll keep you posted.
All right, Jeff. Take care.
Take care now.
Take care.
Northwest Cabarrus, they're undefeated. But I think they'll beat Carson, but right now they don't have that oomph win, It's something that gives you that woo.
Right.
Ardrey Kell, Myers Park.
Yeah, that's going to be a big game.
That's going to be a good one.
Because Ardrey Kell has actually played and beaten some good teams, so should go to that game right there. Palisades Olympic. But
that's going to be a good one.
Yeah,
right here, Bertie and Gates County. I take Bertie in this game, believe it or not. I know Bertie's 1-4, but
Right.
let's look at Bertie real quick. See the common opponents. Bertie lost to Hereford County, lost to Tarboro. They also lost to a couple of their big names. Holmes, they lost to Northeastern. Most teams in 1A would be 1-4 right now. All right, let's get back to the stuff here. Oh, this is going to be ugly. Sorry, Geringer.
Yeah, that's.
This right here could be a good game. Rollsville versus Millbrook. I think Rollsville
I
win
think
by.
Rollsville wins, but
I think they'll win by 3. But Millbrook has a lot of talents. The problem with Millbrook, though, they don't have the energy. They just do not come in ready to play. They're a finesse team. Looking on down here.
you know what? So roll back up. Roll back up. Right there. Stop. Whoop, went too far. Down one. There you go. So I can see that Hickory Ridge, Lake Norman. I think I made a mistake. And I picked Hickory Ridge. I let a friend talk me into that. We'll see.
They've had. I'm trying to find a good win they've had, but they've had some respectful losses. Lost by a touchdown to Mooresville. Lost a touchdown by Robinson, Sam Robinson. I don't know, man.
Yeah, I don't know either.
I think Lake Norman will win that one pretty easily.
Yeah, I'm just kind of. I don't remember. I have to go back and look at my picks and see if I did.
Oh, here's an ugly game. Owen versus Rosman.
Mm-hmm.
Owen's just horrible. South Point, Kings Mountain right here. I want to tell you right now, South Point has got a chip on their shoulder. Will they beat Kings Mountain? I don't know, but I think it's going to be a pretty darn close one. That game could really.
Yeah.
But
my pick is Kings Mountain.
Yeah,
but my pick was also Crest last week, and yeah, Crest won, but
that
Kings
game was at
Mountain.
Kings Mountain.
I'm sorry, South Point was kicking Crest's butt there for a while. So,
Oh, it's actually at. It must be at South Point. And let me see. I think the game's at South Point. Yeah, it's at South Point.
See, that's just literally right across the river, and I'm real close to the lake here. So it's not.
That game could go either way. I think Kings Mountain might have just a little bit more for them though.
Well, I think they do. That's my pick.
Yeah.
But I'll be John Brown. I thought that the Crest would, easily score on South Point, but that was not the case. Nothing easy about that win at all.
West Lincoln versus Newton Conover.
I'm picking West Lincoln.
Yeah, I am too. This is a game that could. West Lincoln's the better team, but they could stumble. But I'll take West Lincoln. Hopton versus Pender. That's going to be a good game. I'll take Pender. That's going to be an ugly game. Northwood to be all over Graham. Albemarle versus South Stanley. Believe it or not, both teams are playing better this year. Let's look at that one real quick. Albemarle lost to West Stanley by 8. South Stanley lost to West Stanley by 34. Mount Pleasant. Yeah, I think Albemarle's got to be favored. Let's see down here. I've already gone through a lot of these teams already.
Yeah, it looks like it must have scrolled back up on you or something.
Yeah. 'Cause I think I was close to the bottom.
Yep. You just
Here we
passed
go. Grimsley will be all over Ragsdale.
Yep.
Here we go. I just looked at that one. Let's see here. Pinecrest, Lee County. Pinecrest should win that game, but that could be a good one.
That could be a good game, but I picked Pinecrest.
Murphy, Robbinsville. I mean, that's.
I picked Robinsonville, but that could be a good game.
Yeah. Looking on down here.
Thomasville. Who's Thomasville playing?
South Davidson. They'll beat South Davidson. Burns will be all over Thomas Jefferson. So I did see some games on Saturday. I love it when there's Saturday games. Where's this game going to be at? It's at Dudley. That might actually go to that game. I have a game to go on Friday and Saturday.
That's a doable game, isn't it?
Oh.
Who was Rocky Mount playing? Oh, Warren County. Rocky Mountain Prep. Yeah, sorry. Yeah. I didn't see that.
Well, Dale, I guess I better call it night.
I've got to.
So much, man.
I got to get up in the morning and drive to Durham.
Oh, what are you doing in Durham? Where are you going to?
I'm going up to Icing, North Carolina. They make. Well, they used to just make automotive transmissions. Now they make hybrid motors as well. So I'm going up there. I was going to see, and it just depends on how you feel, if it works out right on my way back, if you wanted to have a barbecue.
What time will you be coming back?
I don't know yet. It would probably be I don't know if I'm going to be I'm not sure if I'm going to be there all day.
Okay. And you're going to, is it actually in Durham, or are you going north of Durham?
It's on the north side of Durham, but
yeah,
it's not too far.
You're going to I-85.
It's on the it's actually north side of Durham. It's on Oxford Road, but it's one of their addresses is Durham. So,
gotcha. I didn't know, maybe you had a Creedmoor address or Butner or anything.
No, it's not all the way up to Creedmoor. Now, I don't know if they're going to. I think they actually have facility in Creedmoor. So I don't know if we're going to end up going to Creedmoor as well, or if it's all going to be done in the Durham facility.
Gotcha. I got if it's around 6 o'clock tomorrow, unfortunately, I'm going to be gone. Got to go to a community meeting about the 85 acres. They're trying to put 8 baseball fields and a tennis court across the street.
Okay. Yeah, it would actually. I think it would probably be earlier than that.
Okay.
I don't know if you want to eat early, but it would maybe be like late afternoon, 4 or 5 o'clock, something like that. I can let you know when I'm rolling out. I'm gonna roll out as soon as I can, but I got a lot to cover, so I'll let you know.
All right,
we'll have some barbecue. Man. Okay.
Yeah, barbecue.
All right.
Come join the Jim and Dale show. We can do barbecue.
Oh yeah, we're still online, aren't we?
All right, guys. Well, I'll tell you what, from Jim and Dale, thank you so much for showing up. We'll catch up with you next time. Take care.
Yeah, take care. All right. Did you end there it is.